So there's something really interesting happening right now in Hollywood. This idea as to whether or not blockbusters can evolve into something more, right? Can we follow the Winter Soldier into having films like Mad Max Fury Road, right? Oh, also The Dark Knight, I think, is part of this movement. Fantastic Beasts, really kind of focusing very strongly on world building and, again, seeing if the films can maybe be something more, right? But then I think that what's pulling potentially in the other direction is the need for mass appeal, right? Like Suicide Squad, Jurassic World, films that, maybe aren't as strong as they could be creatively and storytelling wise, but have just a visceral appeal to a very large group of people. And of course, the box office for The Dark Knight was very strong. Mad Max Fury Road doesn't come anywhere near these other movies. And we'll see how Fantastic Beasts does. And perhaps one of the problems that Fantastic Beasts and Rogue One both face, coming out at the same time, around the same time, really important films for both their franchises, is that neither one, with the exception of Darth Vader, I think, in Rogue One, and they should be playing him up more, you don't have any really strong connection to the franchises that exist. That you're not only taking a risk with the tone, the change of tone, but you don't have any pull, right? Like everyone's like, why isn't Dumbledore in Fantastic Beasts? They're kind of promising he might show up later, but why would you sit on Dumbledore, right? The idea of having a young, heroic version of Dumbledore who would be, I think, the first openly gay main character, hero in a franchise is something that, you just don't potentially never get to do. So we'll see how much Warner Brothers is committed over there. But anyway, we're focusing on Rogue One, and I'm really curious to see how this film performs. This is what I want. In a Star Wars movie. This is what I was promised, what we all were promised. Is the whole purpose of the spin-offs was to play with the franchise, to do different things with it. But when I watched the trailer, I love it, the overall feel. There's no money shot. There's no blowing people's mind. Like, oh, that's something new. I've never seen that before. Or that's something to get excited for. I mean, either you're down for a gritty Star Wars movie, a war movie, or you're not, right? Either you want Star Wars Black Hawk Down or you don't. And I also question the commercial aspects of this movie. Is this something that families are going to want to see? Is someone going to say, what should I take the kids to see this weekend? Star Wars Rogue One? Or are they going to go with all the other choices that they have? Fantastic Beasts, Moana, Passengers. I don't know. That might be for kids. Close your eyes during the sex scene, kids. Who doesn't love Katniss and Owen from Star-Lord, right? Owen from Jurassic World. But and then there'll be other family fare out, and Doctor Strange will still be playing. And so that's just something that, as I look at it from a non-fan perspective, from a business perspective, I'm like, I don't know if I see a lot of money here. So that means the rest of us are going to have to see it multiple times if we want them to keep doing stuff like this. All right. Like, couldn't they have stuck Obi-Wan or something in here? I don't know. But then, of course, it would be Alec Guinness, and they don't want to do a CGI Alec Guinness. That would be in poor taste. But anyway, let's go through this. I think it's a beautiful, stunning trailer. But let's pay attention to not only that, but some of the story points that are finally revealed to us. Now, this is just gorgeous. Now, look at that. When you come, I love this juxtaposition of very real world, like almost like one of those calendar pictures, right? Like you put it on your wall for Zen, right? And then they stick this sci-fi Star Wars thing in the middle of it. I think there's just something about the contrast that's just super appealing. I know again, as I mentioned in my live reaction, some people aren't quite feeling it, but I really like it. And they aren't feeling palm trees in the Star Wars universe. It doesn't feel like Star Wars to them, but it makes it feel more real to me. Like that it's not, this is a real beach. I mean, I think it's real. Who knows how far they've come with animation these days, but I do know they shot on location for this film extensively. So the idea that this is a real, that this is taking place not like on a sound stage or all CGI, but this is a real place and that Star Wars came here, it kind of gives you hope that Star Wars could come to where you are, right? Or that you could find yourself on that beach and just within that amazing picture. It's really good. I like it. It also gives it grounds it a little bit more, makes it again feel more real. It gives me a feeling of like a Jaws with Steven Spielberg, like 1970s filmmaking, which I think is a very strong influence on Gareth Edwards. So here we can see Jyn Erso's father, and this is like, I love this. This is like his farm or wherever he's working. He seems to be some kind of engineer, right? You can see right there he's tinkering away, and that looks like the fence on his property, which I think is pretty cool. Or actually, maybe it's more of these things, right? He's some kind of scientific farmer, which is something we're dealing with today. And here comes, look who's coming to dinner, the Empire, and they want you to come for takeout. But we'll talk about that in a moment. I like the rain. This whole movie is just like covered in water. I mean, I'm sure it made everybody very sick. They probably had to wear wetsuits all the time under their costumes. They do that with actors so they don't get sick. But I'm just like, I'd love to be the Star Wars on-set mister with like a little spray bottle and be like, come here, Mads. All right, he's ready. All right. Now here are the Death Troopers. Everybody's going crazy over the Death Troopers. I'm not a huge fan of the Death Troopers. I like a good old-fashioned Stormtrooper, quite frankly. But I am intrigued by the idea that maybe these guys can hit a target, right? These are supposed to be the elite forces of the Empire. Kind of like Stormtroopers crossed with ninjas, or Tom Clancy's, Splinter Cell. They don't have it on here, but their masks can go green at the bottom, I'm assuming, from night vision that the whole mask employs. I'm open to these guys winning me over with their sweet skills. But, still, I prefer seeing white Stormtroopers walk around. There's just something about it. It's so cool. Now, this is hilarious. I like that you can tell how old Director Krennic is by the length of his cape, right? Like, this is his starter cape. He's just getting his start in the Empire. And he hasn't quite worked up to the bravado of the long cape. So you can see a little bit more of Mads Mikkelsen's workshop / home there. Wow, what a place to build. I mean, if I were Orson Krennic, I'd be like, I want you to capture him and build a resort here for the Empire. Why did they park so far away? That's a cute little Jyn Erso. So, he's telling her, he's like, oh, don't, he's really kind of, I guess he knows kind of why they're there. So he's like, whatever I do for you. So anytime a planet explodes, just think of Jyn Erso. All right. So there they are. They're like, thanks for making me walk so far. And I like some of the wordless exchanges here. Some people have noted that this seems a little cheesy, some of this dialogue. Maybe it's just out of context. And I think it's in contrast to the stark realism of the locations, right? But I think that both of these actors, Mads Mikkelsen and Ben Mendelsohn, are very good organic actors, and they will do the best that is possible. All right. Look how wet he is. He's so wet. He's also very wet and not happy about it. That's so great. I just love it. He's got his little Empire parka on. He's stuck wearing this hat. He hasn't evolved beyond the hat just yet. I'm such a big Ben Mendelsohn fan. Now that's very charming. I think this little kid looks great there. And very good casting. Oh, again, so wet. But I love the casting. I think she looks a lot like Felicity Jones. So good job. Sometimes when they have kids in movies supposed to be playing someone's younger version, you're like, that looks nothing like them. But this, totally, when they do this, the jump cut to her as an adult, I'm like, yes, that is Jyn Erso. Now this gets really cool in just a moment. Oh, yeah. Empire prison cell. I appreciate the use of sunlight. Thanks, the Empire. But it also means, of course, she's not a prisoner in space. Now, look at that. She has an alien as a cellmate, and I don't know, that alien doesn't seem to be wearing a shirt, so that means these are not gender-segregated prison cells. So, oh man, the Empire. They just no regulations, no Geneva Conventions or whatever they have in Star Wars. Although the guy seems nice enough. I know a lot of you have been saying you wanted to see more aliens, so there's one. I also like, of course, there's a white stormtrooper. I'd be like, can you just entertain me and help me out and just keep walking past my cell? It gives me a lot of joy, and you got nothing else to do. But I like they incorporated the pattern for the lights within the Empire ships into the bars for the cell. I mean, that is great. I think that's really clever, and it ties it all together, and you instantly think Empire. So I think that's great. Silver Lucasfilm. Now here's the occupied town. You can see there's some kind of prison breakout. And they're like, you want to get out of here? I'd be curious to know how she gets back into the cuffs. What does she do between this moment and when she gets to the rebel base that they're like, put him back on? She's like, I rebel. did you know I'm a rebel? She gets it again in this movie. She's, she should just have like a little sticker that says, ask me about rebellion. I have a lot of opinions on it. Now, I agree with everybody. That's pretty cool. This seems to be, it looks a little bit like Obi-Wan, but, it's a fallen Jedi statue. Maybe this is Jeddah, but I like, I think the only problem with this is that it throws off the time frame. This is very similar to the fallen ship that we see where I forgot the name of the damn planet, Jakku, I think, where Daisy Ridley's Rey is salvaging, right? So I think I think to some degree your brain's like, oh, wreckage here, wreckage there. But no, this is like much older wreckage from a totally different time period, years, decades beforehand. But it looks cool, and it's obviously been there for a very long time as it's half buried in the sand. You can see how small the ship is by comparison. I love, by the way, again, when the ship kind of jumps up and down a little bit and vibrates when they're riding it, because they're like, oh, this technology's okay. Like, I think that's great. Of course, it's space. This is the rebellion. They don't have a huge budget. Not everything is totally like spick and span and working great. So here they are again at the rebel base. She's rushing ahead of someone. Now here, I'm very glad to see Diego Luna getting more to do. And he's like, when's the last time? At first I thought he said, when's the last time you were in combat? But I liked that he said, when's the last time you talked to her father? And they're basically like, this is why we want to talk to you, because your dad has done something horrible. And she's like, what's happening? And they're like, it's so bad. All right, so, and I could make a political joke there, but I don't want to. All right, we'll keep that out of here. So I like this quite a bit. Again, really super wet and rainy, but that's just a beautiful shot. This is the same ship that, of course, Kylo Ren, or a very similar ship that Kylo Ren is using. So I think it's interesting that we would see it here, and we would see it decades later in The Force Awakens. But in all the middle trilogy, the main original trilogy, which is now the middle trilogy, no one was flying this thing when it's so cool. But lots of Spielberg light beams. And I like that director Krennic's like, and now you will dress like me as the final insult. Lots of white stormtroopers. Love them. He's still mad that he's so wet. He's like, I got to get off this damn planet. Hilarious. More wordless, wordless communication. Now she's like, if my father built this thing, I have to find him. And there it is. It's immense. I can see why they wanted him. I think it's an interesting idea to make the person who built the Death Star reluctant. It reminds me a little bit of the scientists, of course, that the Nazis were trying to use, and then in some cases the U.S. would lure them away, or to make them look better, say, we rescued them, we liberated them from working with the Nazis, not gave a better competitive bid. But, it's kind of similar to the nuclear proliferation situation during World War II. So, nice history reference movie. It's so big. Now, there's Riz Ahmed. I'll take all the Riz Ahmed I can get. Now, I'm really rooting for Riz Ahmed to become a star. I think it would be good for not just Hollywood, but for the global community to have someone. I know some of you say he's of Asian descent because he's from Pakistan. Pakistan borders Afghanistan and Iran. It's on the Arabian Sea. I think that it qualifies. I mean, I can't say that it qualifies because I'm not from that region as Middle Eastern, and I know some of you very vehemently believe that he qualifies as Asian, but I have to say, looking at him, everyone in the West would qualify him as someone from the Middle Eastern community. And that's just the way it is, right? And if you're going to be so nitpicky about this stuff, you're never going to get anywhere when it comes to diversity. I think I said he'd make a great Aladdin, and I think it would be great to have a heroic actor who's of Middle Eastern descent that everybody loves. It's like, that's really important when we have these problems with, stereotypes and misjudgments, that, it's like with Harvey Milk's very famous strategy with the gay community saying, it just can't be the gays. You need to say, someone who's gay. So you're really going to deny basic human rights to your teacher, your neighbor, your brother, your son, etc. So I think that was very effective. And so I know it's a lot to put on old Riz Ahmed, but I think that's going to have to be the price of his stardom. And I think it would, he's in a very interesting time in the world, and I think he's the right guy for the job. So I really want to see him step forward in this movie and really come across well. So Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen, he goes from Ray Charles to like super ninja all the time. I don't know if Donnie Yen. I really like Donnie Yen. I'm such a big Donnie Yen fan, but I don't want to see Donnie Yen. I don't want to see hippie Donnie Yen. Basically, I liked his Ip Man character, who was more like Jimmy Stewart, Bing Crosby, and I would hope that he does more than just kind of like be like, yeah, the Force, man, throughout the entire movie. I think there's better ways to use Donnie Yen. So here, there, more Rizamed. So it's like, we need a call sign. That's what K2SO is saying. I'm not sure who they're giving it to. I hope it's not to the Empire, because that's a pretty big giveaway. And I like that he has a British accent. As one of you pointed out, yes, Riz Ahmed is British, but he's never used it in a big Hollywood production before. So that's pretty cool. And he's a former Empire pilot who's now working for the Rebellion. And I like that he's the one who names the movie effectively, saying our call sign is Rogue One. Lightspeed. Now this is amazing. Look at that. Who would talk to Darth Vader this way, right? I think Darth Vader is probably in this moment, if we were to see what was under the mask, just kind of looking at him like stupefied, being like, this man has a death wish. I don't know if I should kill him and grant his wish, or if I should respect him. It's just crazy. I'd be like, what are you doing? Only Ben Mendelsohn would do such a thing. So he's really lobbying for the Death Star here. Maybe Darth Vader wants to shut it down. It's too expensive. Look at that. Hugo Boss is infamous for designing the Nazi uniforms. Very stylish. And I think that it's really interesting to see, especially in the 70s, that was considered futuristic when the early 80s, late 70s when the Star Wars movies first came out. But today, it's such an odd retro look, right? That it's kind of cool, but it's like, almost looks like Deadmau 5 up there, like about to start like an amazing show of death and destruction, right? Light him up, Deadmau 5 or whatever that guy's name is. And I know it's from the past trilogy, but it's just such like what purpose does that hat serve, right? I mean, I would think at the very least it would be difficult for them all to sit next to each other and walk around and they don't have any peripheral vision. It's just really weird. And also, I have to say, quite the show of power that they would say, here, you wear this all day, every day, put it on your head. Are you going to wear one? No, I'm not going to wear it. I'm going to wear this amazing white cape, although Darth Vader seems to feel you. You guys can probably commiserate about wearing black plastic all day long. The air conditioning bill must be insane. So they're talking about, this is such a powerful weapon. How will we ever destroy it? How will we ever defeat the Empire? I'm like, don't worry about it. We've seen the other movies. But then we saw the 7th movie and you guys actually didn't stick. But anyway, this is really cool. I'm excited to see this action sequence. And I'm torn, though. I love seeing these things move around. The Empire's like little weird tanks. I think they're so cool. When they're the big ones, when they're the little ones. I know they have proper names. I don't know them off the top of my head. But I just think it's a lot of fun. However, I question the judgment of whoever's leading this platoon to send that into an urban area. Especially because I don't know how it can bend down and go underneath all these archways. It just seems like something that has not the right mobility in such a closed, space. Urban warfare, basically. It's interesting to see Star Wars in urban warfare, though, considering that's, of course, one of the main ways that war is conducted today. All right, explosion. Now, Saw Gerrera. He has even less of him than we thought. And he doesn't even have his beautiful blue eyes anymore. So there's Forrest Whitaker, Saw Gerrera. I hope he doesn't turn into the mystical black man of the movie. That would not be cool, but we'll see. We will reserve judgment. Now here, she's given another inspirational speech again. She said, ask me about Rebels. I have some ideas. And so she's like, isn't it all about hope? And I love Donnie Yen's reaction. I thought that was so funny. He's like, yeah, hope, feel it, man. Yeah, thanks for reminding everyone. She gets it. So I think that's hilarious. Also, as I said before, anyone who you don't know and whose character doesn't have a name, they're gonna die. Those are Star Wars red shirts. What a base. So gorgeous. This is so nice. I believe this is an Empire base. First I thought maybe the Rebels had taken it because when they're running out there, at the end there, that looks a little bit like some of the other shots we've seen of the Rebel base, when the crazy alarm goes off. But I don't know if they could hold such a position. It's just so huge and intense. But it's just a gorgeous shot. It's so beautiful. I love again the contrast of the heavy sci-fi and the tropical location. Now love that shot. That's one of my favorite shots of the entire trailer. I believe these are our rebels, and I like that they're moving in on the location. And it's just gorgeous. The rows of palm trees, just stunning. It's so cool because it's like all the imagery that we've known from like Vietnam films, and then you're putting it in a Star Wars context. It's just really cool. I really like it a lot. Now this is great. This is an undercover mission. I love how big K2SO is. So he, of course, helps sell the undercover mission because he is an Imperial droid that they've, of course, freed and has joined their ranks. So he, is able to help there. I think it's funny that Diego Luna is dressed up as someone who works for the Empire. I think he would be immediately noticeable because they're like, we only hire white people to work here. How did you get in here, right? So I think that would be probably the realistic way that he would, not be able to blend in so well. But I think that would really distract everyone is Jyn Erso in this crazy getup. We see her with that helmet off later, but boy, that just she looks like like in a Bob Hope movie, or like in Storks recently, they had them hiding in some kind of device, and it looks comical. She doesn't. If I were at the Empire, I'd be like, man, the uniforms get stupider every day. Did you see what they did to that poor girl back there? Ah, man. So, but we know from other trailers they get uncovered eventually. We have to stop here. I feel like I'm giving like a Star Wars Rogue One tour. And on your left, you'll see some new aliens with some breathing apparatuses. There seem to be a diverse group of space peoples. Donnie Yen. I wonder if that guy ever tells him that he helps him out, right? He's like, yeah, I shot everyone, but he's blind, so I'll just make him think that the Force did it. It's actually been made this whole time. But I'm sure the Force at the end will prove that guy's supposed to be very skeptical, so I'm sure the Force will, be proven to him by the end of the movie. He kind of actually gave that away. But anyway, a lot of people have liked the line when Diego Luna says, make 100 men or 10 men feel like 100. And I think that's really nice. But the sad thing is that when 10 men feel like 100, they often die, right? So we'll see if this ends up being a Suicide Squad mission. I don't know how he can fire that weapon being blind. That's amazing. I have no idea. It must be the Force. That would prove it to me, I guess. I like this moment a lot. Riz Ahmed. Very cool. And this is a real self-sacrifice moment, right? With him being like, am I really going to sacrifice myself for this is like a moment where you check in with yourself and you're like, do I really believe in it to the level that I'd be willing to sacrifice myself? And you'll see in a moment that he's like, yeah, I kind of do. And there he goes. He's got to do it. I also, speaking of that, this starts like a sacrifice kind of like succession of shots. So you've got him making a run for the ship. Then here you have X-Wing fighters. Usually X-Wing fighters are able to easily maneuver through these installations. But here you're seeing that it's not so easy. So you're losing some X-Wings. And I love that. I love when the pilot screams like that. Like, maybe I'm going to die. Maybe I lost most of my squad. I think that's super cool. I just really like it. But that to me makes me feel like maybe not for kids, right? Although, I guess, are you ever too young to learn about the importance of, believing in something and fighting for something? And also how real it can get. But I really like this a lot. To me, it's very emotional. I think it's great. That guy does a good job. Look at K2. Fixing his posture. I'm so excited to see K2 move. I wanted to see more of that, but I'll wait for the movie. It's fine. I don't need. This is like the Donnie Yen kind of moment. Like this is a real like a sitcom kind of moment, right? Where he's like, "Yeah, you totally are right." I think that to me stands out a little bit from the movie. Doesn't quite fit. More explosions. Now that's great. As I said, this is a cape off, right? Whose cape is cooler? I hear you've been sashaying around in a cape all over this base. Time to show you who knows how to do it right. So he's coming out here with all the smoke. I think he's coming off from his ship. I think that's so great. I think that's just one of my favorite shots in the trailer. I also like that one, by the way. I like that her father, again, still wet. He's like, can we just go inside, please? They're like, no, finish the Death Star. Or maybe he's finished and they don't need him anymore. Also, can you imagine that they would put him like, in what is that, like velvet or felt in such a rainy area? I'd be like, why do we don't have the right fabric for this? All right, Mads Mikkelsen's so cool. Also, very good casting there. Mads Mikkelsen and Jyn Erso. They really do look like they're related. And then protect the dream. Don't let the dream die from Saw Gerrera. Now this is also one of my favorite shots in the movie. I love this. I mean, look, it almost feels like a theme park or something. Like, we're going in, right? Like, we're going into the action. We've come from the sidelines and we're going to go in. Get excited. And so I think that's great. I don't know if they've surrounded it. I think these two walkers are probably on the same side, and I think they're convening on the middle here. Although you would think that crossfire would really get them, but I guess they're both aiming down. So that looks really cool. It's just so gorgeous. I love it so much. Now this is amazing. They're both running and trying to get away from this, but how could Donnie Yen run through the jungle? This is a jungle. When he's blind. The Force. These are the things that would prove to me the existence of the Force. That's great. It's a really great trailer. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'm very excited. Again, as I said, this was what I was promised. I'm so happy that I'm actually getting it. But I'm very curious to hear how you feel about this trailer. Also, it seemed more like a team movie, and I think we can all live with Jyn Erso. She's going to be a little annoying. She's going to kind of like reinforce a lot of negative stereotypes about women and women in a leadership position and how women can't really get along with groups. Somebody said they think it looks like in my live reaction, someone wrote, it doesn't look like she would just hang out with these guys. Like, she doesn't look like there's some camaraderie. And I would agree with that. I would really like to see a female character who just felt like more of the group. And they can't have a female lead in every Star Wars movie. I think that's going to not be cool. And also the same kind of female lead. But I think for this one, the rest of the cast is very exciting, and I hope that they get lots of chances to shine in the final film, which is really just a gorgeous movie. So what do you think? And also, do you think this is very commercial? Do you think this is commercially viable? You know, it doesn't have any cute androids in it. There's no BB-8, right? There's no crazy hijinks. And do you think that's going to have an effect on the film at all? And do you believe the blockbusters can be something more and still be as potent at the box office? Write your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching with me, and you can check out some more videos right now.